I have an important question to ask you all if you were listening. And the question is basically this: what would it take? What would it require to start a great movement? To start a great movement, a movement that would bring meaningful opportunities to the world for kol tikkun, the Hebrew phrase meaning all levels of healing and restoration. What would it take to start a great movement and carry it forward for kol tikkun, for all levels of healing and restoration to be brought to the world? What would it take? Where do you think such a movement, if it were to happen, would be sourced? In heaven or in some institution of earth? Who do you think would fund it and supply its needs? What do you think such a movement would look like? And what would it consist of? And what would be its signature signs that were unmistakable evidence of where it came from and what it was about? Who? What individuals? What collectives would you expect to be this movement's forerunners and its trailblazers, its emissaries, and as I like to say, its snow globe people, the ones who are put on display for everyone else to see? How would you expect such a movement that would bring the possibility, the opportunity of tikkun olam, tikkun nefesh, tikkun adam, and tikkun eretz to the earth? How would you expect such a movement to be introduced to the nations and initiated among them and spread between them? How would you expect that to happen? And most importantly, if you were invited to participate in such a movement, if you were called indeed into covenant to enter into such a movement and be part of it, would you accept the invitation? Would you respond to the call? Good morning. Welcome to you all. This is Bill Bullock, and I'm coming to you live from the Biblical Lifestyle Center in Texarkana, USA. And wow, do we have some things to talk about today. The Parsha of the week is Be'alotka, in the arising, in the ascendance unto the lampstand, unto the lights. And so the issue we're going to have is, are you ready to participate? Are you anxious to, or do you want to participate in the greatest movement the world has ever known, the return to the King's ways and the King's plan? Well, at the epicenter of this week's Deep Wisdom download will be a man named Hovav. Hovav, in English, I think a lot of people translate it or interpret it or say it as Hobab. This is a man who is at the center of the narrative of this Torah week's lesson. Hobab. I'll read to you from Numbers chapter 10. We're in chapters 8 through 12, so we right in the middle of it is just portion of chapter 10, Numbers 10, 29, 30. At the epicenter of the Deep Wisdom download this week is these words. And then Moshe said to Hovav, there's our guy, Ben Ruel, the Midianite, Chotan Moshe, the father-in-law, the brother-in-law of Moshe. We are setting out, Moshe said, for the place of which the Holy One said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will show you goodness. For the Holy One has spoken Dibar Tov, the words of goodness over Israel. But Hovav said to him, I will not go. I refuse the invitation to join in this great movement. I will not go, but I will go back to my own land and to my relatives, and he might as well said to my status quo. You see, this is Hobab. He's following the same pattern of Yitro, apparently his father or a relative of his, in Exodus 18:27. Same basic thing. I will not go. I will go back to my own land and my relatives. Would you do that if you were given the opportunity, beloved? If you were offered the invitation and the covenant calling to come with the Holy One and begin and participate in and bring to the nations of the earth the greatest movement of tikkun ever known to the humanity, the plan that was in the mind of the Holy One before he created the earth and the heavens, would you join it? Or would you be like Hobab and say no? Well, human beings in general and cultures in particular cling to what I call the great matrix illusion. That great matrix illusion is that what they know is the status quo, that they think this is the way life is, the way it always has been, the way it always will be. The best we could hope for is the status quo, the great matrix illusion. Now, this mass illusion involves standard assumptions, but subject to standard deviations. There can be some deviations, but they have to be standard deviations to the great assumptions. The mass matrix illusion involves standard operating procedures. This is the way it's done. We've always done it this way. We might tweak it a little bit, but it's basically going to be the same way. The great matrix illusion of status quo involves standard biases. We believe certain things about certain groups of people and certain possibilities and certain opportunities. It involves standard values or the lack thereof, and standard vices, what we will accept and wink at, and what we will condemn and hate and think are evil. Because this matrix illusion, this mass illusion, is familiar to us because we have lived in it so long, it is accepted by us as normal, even to be perpetuated by our work and our actions. And therefore, because of this illusion, people and cultures are naturally resistant to any impetus toward a significant change, toward a whole new perspective and vision of looking at the world, and a whole new connection to the creator of the universe, and a whole new enveloping plan that would change the world. They will only accept a little bit of possibility of reform of the existing status quo. And radical shifts of the status quo, like was offered to Hovav, previously offered to Yitro, radical shifts in the status quo are looked at by people individually and cultures as an evil attacks on the matrix that we're so familiar with and in love with. But what if the matrix is toxic at its root? What if the matrix illusion is rotten to its core? And what if it corrupts everything it touches? What if the Holy One therefore knows that reform at its best would be hopeless and meaningless and short-term, and what the world really needs is nothing short of a mass movement, a mass awakening, a mass emergence, a mass return to Him, to His vision for the world and creation as it should be, the ecosystem as it should operate, to His words of life, health, and peace, to His covenant-guided life choices, and to His grand eternal plan. What if the Holy One called you? What if the Holy One was covenant directing you and inviting you to say, come out of it, come out of the matrix illusion, and follow the Master's words and direction? Well, this is year 5785 from creation. Our theme this year is walking in the light, and man, does that ever hit us this week in Parsha Be'elutka. It's all about walking in the light, discovering the secret wisdom encoded in Torah's timeless stories. Will we do that? Will we walk in the light? Will we come to the light? Will we walk in the light? Or like Hovav, will we choose to remain in our familiar darkness? John said in chapter 3, verse 19 to 21, perhaps the words of this Messiah himself. But the words of this, the light has come into the world. It's walking in the light. The light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, like Hovav. Because their doings, their makings, the things they were engaged in were raw, were self-absorbed, were evil. For everyone that does and makes raw, self-absorbed things and evil rejects the light and refuses to come to the light. Why? Lest his doings and his makings, his works, his deeds be exposed for what they are. But one who does and makes emet that which is eternally true and seeks that which is eternally true comes to the light, in order that his doings and his makings may be clearly seen, because they have been done in through the power and the energy and the movement of the Holy One, the Creator. Human beings, you see, we were designed to be vessels of awe and wonder. Have you lost that? We were designed to be vessels of awe and wonder. Beautiful creatures, beautiful minds thinking beautiful thoughts. Human capacities of thought were designed by the Creator to reflect his own creativity and his positivity. The one who created them we were to be like that. Human organs of speech were designed to bless as the Holy One blesses, to energize for productivity the way the Holy One energizes for productivity, to inspire to excellence the way the Holy One inspires to excellence, and to spread simcha, joy, rejoicing, celebration, and shalom, well-being, wholeness, peace. Alas, but after the design of all these things and the introduction of them to the earth ecosystem, into the garden slithered the serpent. That wily creature that sabotaged everything good in creation and in mankind by sowing in human beings discontent and disillusionment and division between themselves and between them and God, who brought into the world an irreverent attitude and a cynical, sarcastic tone of speech and a personal axe to grind against the Creator, feeling he was deprived in some way. Instead of whistling while he worked, the serpent whispered while he schemed, and we have been whispering with him ever since. Every time you meet a fellow or a lady the serpent has infected with his poison, beloved, be sure to guard your heart and guard your thoughts. And if all else fails, and you can't resist or you refuse to, and you find yourself losing your simcha and shalom and taking up complaint and criticism and lashon hara, the evil speech about your neighbor, at least, even if you lose your thoughts and your heart to the evil one, guard your tongue and do not carry anyone down that toxic wormhole with you. That's the message of Parsha Be'alot. We have people walking into the snow globe imagery. First we see Aaron will walk into the snow globe. We'll see him looking so good, lighting the lights, ascending. Be'alot means and he ascended, and he arose up in the ascending, rising up. And Aaron will do that. He will be in his robes of righteousness, but he will also be at the end of the story in Parsha Be'alot in chapter 12. At the end of the story, he will not look so beautiful. He will not look so glorious. He and Miriam will team up to spread the same thing that the world is being told not to do, the negative energy of Lashon Hara that we'll talk about, Moshe. Oh, who else will come into the front light, into the spotlight of the snow globe this week? The Levi'im, the Levites as they're known to the Western world. They will be brought into the forefront, so they will come forth in majesty and beauty, be presented to the community, servants unto the tabernacle, unto the portal between heaven and earth where the holiness flows. They will be given this honor of doing so, but before the next 2 or 3 weeks are over, we're going to see those very snow globe people look very miserable, and people like Korach will come forth from their midst, and the whole rebellion of Korach will come forth, and we'll see how that which begins in holiness may not always end in holiness. And we'll see other people. We'll see Yehoshua will come forth, and he will not understand what's going on. Moshe will have his moments, and we'll see all the people that our snow globe people. We'll see them at their best, and we'll see them at their worst. And that's what Parsha Be'alot will be all about. Numbers 8:1 through 12:16. Let's sing our call to worship before we go any further. Barachu, the blessing, before we read the words of the Torah. Baruch Adonai Hamborak, Baruch Adonai Hamborak Leolam Vayeh, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amin, V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. So be it unto us all. Now would you open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah. For we are just strangers in this earth, so please do not hide your instructions for living from us. And now it's time to gather around the children of the Most High, because it's story time again. We're entering into the stories of the Torah, getting the secret wisdom encoded within those timeless stories. Well, the last 2 weeks have been about lifting our heads, getting our heads out of the ordinary, the common, and looking up and seeing that which the Holy One has called us to be and do. The last 2 weeks have been about lifting our heads so that we will be ready for the challenges of the arduous wilderness boot camp march that lies ahead. We're about to march across the Middle East through the hottest deserts, the worst terrain, the most dangerous enemies and creatures and conditions known to man. The history of the world, we've never seen 2 to 3 million people en masse taking this march across the most dangerous terrain of the world. So we're trying to prepare ourselves, lift our heads and prepare ourselves for what lies beyond that. There will be life beyond this wilderness march. But right now, to this week, it's time to rise up, to ascend, to get ourselves up off the dirt, out of the ground, rise up and kindle the lamp, the torch with which we are called to enlighten the world, and then to carry it forth with humility and with honor. And we will start the Parsha still at Mount Sinai, basking in the Holy One's presence and healing from his kippurim, his coverings that bring restoration to our souls. But we will soon arise. The cloud will move, and we will stand up, pack up our belongings, and set off and embark on the incredibly dangerous march through insanely treacherous terrain, an epic journey, an odyssey of biblical proportions that will take us into the strongholds of the raging nations, and through the vain imagination-obsessed people groups' lairs. All the people we will find will hate us with a demonic fervor, and they will stop at nothing in their dark energy quest to destroy us. Our flesh will be triggered on this march. Our commitment to the mission will be tested to the max as we travel through the wilderness. And if the grand plan of the Holy One is going to work, if this great movement is going to work the way it was designed to work, then the Holy One is going to have to cull the herd. The herd consists of 2 to 3 million people, some of which came out of Egypt with us, or came out with Egypt, and we were the people who came out of Egypt, but we responded to a call to come out of bondage, not a call to change the world. We responded to a call to get free rather than a call to serve. So the culling the herd is about separating the masses who responded to the call just to come out of bondage or get free or get some blessing for personal salvation, for blessing in financial ways or other ways, separating those from the select few. The select few who will actually arise and ascend and come to the light, who will arise, ascend, come to the light, and then take up the torch and will do what's necessary daily to keep it burning brightly at all times, no matter what the conditions, no matter what the challenges, no matter what the temptations, no matter what the tests, to embrace on this journey emunah discipline in the dust of the rabbi, in this case Moshe the rabbi, but ultimately Mashiach the rabbi, and who will faithfully and selflessly carry the King's message of redemption and restoration, of tikkun, to the nations. Well, Shema Yisrael, listen, my beloved ones. Hear, resonate with this sound and with these words. Culling the herd is the next item on the King's agenda. And we are about to learn some important lessons as we read Parsha Beha'alot and beyond about the King's culling criteria, the criteria by which he decides how the herd will be thinned and culled. There are 3 main units to Beha'alot. Chapter 1, chapter 8 of Numbers, the first chapter of our Parsha. Chapter 8 through chapter 10, verse somewhere in the middle of it, but verse 10 probably. That's unit 1. That's the final phase preparations for the march. That's when we see Aaron and the Leviim and Moshe and Yehoshua, all these people entering into the snow globe. And then unit 2 begins with chapter 10, verse 11, goes through 10, verse 26, a relatively short section of a unit, and it's the grand departure and launch narrative, the great description of us leaving Sinai. And then unit 3 will take place. That's chapters 11 and 12. This will be the first set of tests and challenges that are presented by the march. that give us the culling criteria of the Holy One for this great mission. We'll go from Sinai to a place called Taberah. We'll go from Taberah to a place called Kibrot Ta'ava. We'll go from Kibrot Ta'ava to a place called Hatzerot. And in the process, we will see our ability to carry the torch, our willingness to carry the torch, our willingness to resist the temptation of Hobab to go back to home and family, tested to the max. Final words of Nasa. Let's get back in context. The final words of last week's Parsha, we were very reintroduced, reminded of the beauty realm and its imagery. Numbers 7, verse 89. And when Moshe went into the tent of meeting to speak with him, this is our status quo at Sinai. When Moshe went into the tent of meeting to speak with him, being the Holy One, Moshe shemad et hakol, all of the voice, all of the words, all of the messages spoken to him from above the kaperet, the mercy seat that was on the ark of the testimony. And in this manner the Holy One spoke. He issued the barim to him, Moshe, from between the two cherubim, between the two angelic beings on the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, beloved, we may need to freeze frame that image. Moshe conversing face to face with the Creator in front of the Ark of the Covenant, and the eminence of the Creator speaking of his words, of his wisdom into Moshe for us to hear from between the wings of the cherubim. Freeze frame that image. You're going to need to have that to hold on to as you go into the wilderness. What we're freeze framing is the tent maker's dream, our snow globe scene of ultimate snow globe scenes. This is what we really see peering into eternity. This is the Creator's Emmanuel, God with us initiative. This is Hatikvah, the hope of mankind and creation. Hold on fast to that vision. And then we have this week's Parsha, beginning with chapter 8, verse 1. Vayadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. And then the Holy One spoke to Moshe. Remember the image, the snow globe image that we're looking at, with him speaking to him at the tent of meeting before the Ark of the Covenant, with the divine eminence coming forth. Vayadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. And the Holy One spoke to Moshe, and he said, Daber el Aaron ve'amarta elav. Speak to Aaron and say to him. So Aaron's about to enter the snow globe. Be'alotka et hanerot. In your arising and ascending to the lamps, to the torches, to the light sources. El mul penei ha-menorah. The light is to be cast to the forefront of the menorah. Ya'iru shivat hanerot, and it is to illuminate 7 lamps. Wow. Well, Be'alotka, he said, in your arising, in your ascending. That's the title of this week's Parsha. It's been assigned to it by the sages. Be'alotka, and that's the theme of the entire week. Will you arise? Will you tend the lamps? Not just look at the light, not just sort of be drawn toward the light and kind of look at it from a distance. Will you step into the realm of light, and will you participate with being? Will you take the invitation of the Holy One to come into the light, to tend the torch, to take up its torch and carry it into the world? The title that the sages assigned to each Parsha serves as a kind of a cheat code to understand the central theme and the message that portion contains, and that's definitely the case this week. The Shem, the name, the title, always highlights what the sages saw as the deepest wisdom concept that the section of the scroll in question was divinely intended to communicate. So, Be'alotka, what does it mean? What does it tell us? What's the story behind this phrase? It's been translated into English commonly as things like, when thou lightest, that's the King James Version, when thou lightest, like the lamps. When you arrange, the New King James Version changes from the lightest to when you arrange the lamps. And then the NIV, when you set up the lamps. Boy, you see the difference in the verbs that the English language has tried to match up to Be'alotka, or the arising. But what does the Hebrew actually say? What are they trying but failing miserably to translate? Be'alotka is a derivative form of the Hebrew verb Allah. Ayin lamed he. Allah means to climb as stairs. or to ascend like smoke from a fire. Its first usage is Genesis 2:6. Will you ascend? Will you get up? Will you arise? Or will you stay in your status quo, in your matrix illusion? First usage of Allah is in Genesis 2:6. Va'ed ya'ala, and that an exhalation, a vapor went up, it arose, it alad from the earth, and it watered the whole face of the ground. This is before rain fell on the earth. So be'alutka, in your arising, in your ascending, in your rising like smoke, or coming up higher, getting up higher in your lifestyle and your worldview, the cloud will move this week. We will leave Sinai, and our second great wilderness adventure will be on. We will be launched way out of our comfort zones. We will take up an arduous march toward our destiny deployment. So awake, beloved. Arise and ascend. This is the parsha of arising to ascend, but to what? And for what purpose? And with what intensity? And to what duration? What's the end game? And what's the beginning game? The beginning is to arise. Well, my warning to you, or Torah's warning to us by virtue of the rest of this parsha, is arising and ascent is not a linear process. It has its ups and it has its downs. And whatever goes up must and will come down, at least to some extent. But every descent, every time we fall, every descent is a preparation for an even greater ascent. We're in this for the long haul. So be'aludka. So what's the storyline? The storyline of rising and ascending starts with the theme picture of Aaron in the snow globe arising to tend the lamps. It seems like a simple picture. It seems like a simple instruction. Get up in the mornings, and when you get up in the mornings, first thing you do is go into the tabernacle, the holy place of the tabernacle, and you make sure you clean out the lamp bowls and the menorah, and you refocus the direction of the light as you fill it with oil, and you light the wicks. Make sure that each one by one they all face forward as opposed to facing backward. Forward being to the veil that separates the holy place from the Holy of Holies, toward the place where the cherubim are. The focus is your attention back on the snow globe, the ultimate snow globe picture I told you about with Aaron, with Moshe talking to the Holy One at the Ark of the Covenant. So we start with this theme picture, this Aaron arising to tend the lamps. And part of us knows that by the end of this parsha, Aaron will be doing no such thing. Aaron will be engaging in Lashon Hara, negative speech and negative emotion regarding his brother Moshe. And he'll be teaming up with and polluting and corrupting the mind and the words and the mouth and the message and the testimony of his sister Miriam. And it will have much consequence. We'll see the theme picture of what we want. And unfortunately, we'll also see the result of what happens when you don't faithfully fulfill the instructions. Beyond the theme picture of Aharon, we'll see the Leviim arise and ascend to their avodah. Alas, before Korah rebellion comes about and destroys the picture that we saw, causes it to be shattered on the ground, a broken snow globe. We'll see the celebration of Passover. We'll see the year after the original leaving of Egypt, we're going to commemorate Passover, celebrate it, eat together, unify, get esprit de corps, remember who we are, where we came from, and what we're about and doing. And then we'll realize that by itself will never be enough. We have to carry Passover with us. We have to relive it every day. And what's the next on the storyline? The next of the storyline we'll see the pillar of cloud and fire arise to go out towards the desert to the east, towards the promised land, and lead us in the march. And we'll realize that we are designed to follow the leadership of some spiritual guide, not the leadership of our flesh, or our pseudo-intellect, or some institution of man. We are to follow the pillar of fire and cloud, the manifestation of the Holy One himself. What constitutes, what is the significant sign of this movement as opposed to the movement of men? Well, the next thing is our communication system will be given to us. We'll be told about silver trumpets. Before we leave Sinai, we have to learn how to communicate, and that there are sounds, that there are callings, that not every message is the same at every season, and not every message is to everybody. Some messages are for certain leaders. Some messages are for the entire community. Learning the difference of how to communicate the kingdom's way. If we're going to be the kingdom's people and the kingdom's emissaries, we must do things the kingdom's way. We must have protocols of communication and understand just because we heard something does not mean we say it. Then we have the tribes begin to arise one by one for the great march. They will fall into the marching order as accordance with this plan that's been outlined for us in previous chapters of the book of Numbers, and there will be this glorious arising of the tribes in response to the silver trumpets, in response to the movement of the pillar of the fire and the cloud. In the aftermath of the celebration of Passover, the tribes will arise and begin the great march. And Moshe will then invite Hobab to come with. This is the central part of the Parsha, and Moshe will say, look at what we're doing, look where we're going. The great movement has begun. Join us, come with us, be part of us. And we see that Hobab will say, no, thank you. I'll go back to my home and my family, my land. I'll go back to the way things were. Hobab, was he the brother-in-law? Was he the father-in-law? Was he an in-law? Who was he? He was somehow related by in-laws to Moshe. But we don't know exactly who he was, but we do know that he's in the Bible. He's in the Torah. His story is told to us in the Torah to say, look, not everyone will come with you. Not everyone has the vision. The culling of the herd begins with those who just never had the vision in the first place. And Hobab never got or had the vision. And then we see that not just the tribes arise, but the legions of the tribes, the houses, the whole fathers' houses, one by one arise, and they fall out and file into order, and catch rank, and step into their positions and begin to march from Sinai. And then we see that we began to march, and our triggered flesh begins to respond to the hardships, to the trials, to the challenges. We begin to lose our focus of the snow globe of the Holy One speaking to Moshe and calling us to great things and greatness and arising and ascending and carrying the torch to the nations. We lose sight of that, and we begin to feel what our flesh feels and let it tell us what to say and think and do. And we begin to murmur, and we begin to complain. We let the negative energy of the serpent slither into our camp and into our brains and into our hearts and out of our mouths, and we begin to poison the atmosphere around us with murmur and complaint. This is the culling of the herd. This is step one. If you want to know how the herd is culled, what the criteria of culling is, if you can't control your tongue, if you won't control your tongue, if you won't control your negativity, if you want to murmur and complain and gripe and accuse and spread rumors and lies and even truths that are detrimental or derogatory towards others, if you want to label people with this and that, like Miriam and Aaron did Moshe, and like Yehoshua made a speculation, a generalization about Medad and the other elder who were prophesying outside the camp. If you want to let your mouth go down the negative trail, because your mind went down the negative trail and you didn't stop it, and your heart went down the negative trail and you didn't compel it back to the ways of the Holy One, if that happens, you'll see we're in the mode of being cold. We're ready to be cold by the Holy One from the great agenda, the great calling. We'll be like Hobab. We just turn our back and say, no, we started, but we're not going to finish. Well, we're going to see that the Holy One will cause a fire to arise on the outskirts of the camp at Taberah. We're going to see 70 elders be called forth by the Holy One in response to Moshe's Lashon Hara, his negativity and his self-obsession about how hard this is for him to do. 70 elders will be given to him who will be appointed to arise to assist Moshe, and then they will prophesy, and there will be issues with Yehoshua not being willing to accept the way the Holy One has designed it and caused it to be. And then we'll see quail arise and fill the camp. We'll see so many things take place, and by the end of the time we will see Moshe being slandered, hated, seeds of doubt and insurrection being sown by his own brother Aaron and his own sister Miriam, who can't quit obsessing about something negative they see in his life. But let's go back to the beginning. The lesson of the lamps, Aaron, in the snow globe. Remember, Torah is a great parable of the Mishkan and the presence of the Holy One communicating with man. And every picture tells a story. Parsha Beha'alotka's beginning calls us to a beauty realm metaphor. The instruction, motivation, these things really happened. The Holy One really said these things, and he really directed them to Moshe to tell to Aaron. But the reason it's in the Torah is something else. The reason it's in the Torah is because it is a metaphor. It is a parable. It is a proverb for us to understand. It is so much deeper than the surface would tell you. This is the story of the secret life and hidden disciplines of those who are called to be light bearers. Aaron's in the snow globe. He's on the stage. He's the model. He's the forerunner. He's the one we're looking at. But the question is, like Hobab, you're being invited to do like unto him in real and meaningful ways that are told by parable. The menorah parable, that's what we have with Aaron. The menorah parable of the lighting of the lamps in the morning is all about accepting the yoke of the light bearer and embracing the disciplines of light bearing and illumination. And those disciplines of light bearing and illumination mean you will not allow yourself to become negative of thought, negative of heart, negative of emotion, or negative of speech. So what is a lamp? We've got this great metaphor of the lampstand, menorah metaphor. Lamp in Hebrew is the word is ner, nun resh, ner. It's from a verb nir, to break ground, to plow a furrow, to blaze a trail, to make a way. Expose that which shimmers and shines in the sun. That's all about this, because when you blaze a trail, you allow the light to come in, and we are walking in the light. So lamp is that which is plowing the furrow, blazing the trail, opening the area to the light of the Holy One, and causing it to shimmer in the sun. So that's what a lamp is. Now, at the Peshat level, at the lowest level of basic instruction, the ner refers to the 7 lamps that make up the menorah of the tabernacle in the holy place, those which the Kohen, the high priest, was to tend every day. Exodus 25 tells us that story. That's what it says at the Peshat level, but all at the metaphoric level. At Remez, at the Remez to Drash, and beyond level, the Sod level, it refers to all the mitzvot of Torah. Psalm 119, 105 says, your word, O Holy One, your word, the bar, is a ner, is a lamp to my feet, and is an or, shining in my path. You see this imagery. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Then Proverbs 6:23 carries us forward. For the mitzvah, the instruction of the Holy One, is a ner, is a lamp. And the Torah is an or, a shining light. And reproofs of instructions are the way of life. The disciplines that go with the light are the way to eternal and present life in Haya and its fullest abundance. Proverbs 27:27. Ner Adonai nishmat Adam. The neshama, the spirit of a man, the eternal spirit of a man, is the lamp of the Holy One. It is the lamp the Holy One's lighting. So what is Aaron doing? He's a picture not just of us, but he's a picture of Mashiach, of the Holy One's servant, lighting the lamp of the Holy One, which is the neshama of a man. Our neshama, the spirit of a man. Our call is to light spirits, to light up and give illumination to the spirits of mankind, of human beings. The neshama of a man is the lamp of the Holy One. Chofesh kol kadre batain, searching all the inner chambers of his being. The neshama of a man is the lamp of the Holy One, searching all the inner chambers of his being. Ki ner mitzvah, for a mitzvah, an instruction from the Holy One, is a lamp. The Torah, or, and Torah is light. So here's Aaron in the snow globe. And the Torah says, speak to Aaron, the Holy One says, speak to Aaron and say to him, when you cause hanarot, the lamps, the ners, to ascend The lamps must give light forward from the face of the menorah, forward to the face, toward the table of showbread and the altar of incense, or toward the veil that separates the holy place, but forward. Now, light typically emits in all directions, but each wick of the menorah and each portion of the soul of man, correspondingly, can be angled, positioned in order to direct the flame in a particular direction for the sake of the kingdom. Well, Aaron is in the snow globe, and every morning alone in the holy place, Aaron's job was to clean and resupply each of the lamps of the bowls of the menorah one at a time, so as to assure that at least 6 of the 7 lamps were always burning and facing forward. He would ascend the platform next to the menorah in the morning. He would carefully scrub each lamp clean of carbon residue. One at a time, he would replace them as necessary, or he would refill them with oil as appropriate. Into the oil in the bowl that was now clean, he would insert a fresh wick torn from priestly garments, and then he would kindle the lamp, that bowl, before going on to the next one and doing the same thing. Over and over again, day after day, year after year, he would do this. This was his job, his discipline, his calling to carry forth the light and bring it forth to the world. So it is with us in the souls of men. So what problems in humanity and what problems in creation is the snow globe mitzvah designed to fix and heal? You remember what I said, what I read from John chapter 3. Those whose doings and workings are evil, are raw, are self-consumed and selfish and self-absorbed, those things, those people will run from the light. But those who long to have their work, their workings, their doings exposed and shown to be of the Holy One, they will run into the light. Well, the whole idea of this is that light emanation requires and assumes energy passing through resistance. Energy passing through resistance creates light. That's what the energy of the electrons going through a filament creates the light of a light bulb. So how then, that being the case, since light comes through energy passing through resistance, how could we have light without resistance? We will have much resistance, and much resistance will create much light if we have and stay connected to the power source. Well, it's time for me to leave you. This session together is about over for the day. I hope you understand that we are called to maintain the disciplines of the lampstand. The lampstand disciplines are to color everything that we do. And if we do not stay faithful to the lampstands, and if we don't return to the disciplines whenever we step away for a while, if we do not constantly keep going back and longing for the disciplines of the lampstand and walking in them, and we let our hearts get cold, and we let our minds drift off into vain imaginations or offenses, or if we let our tongues speak negative speech about other people or about situations or complaints or accusations or spread slander or gossip or lashon hara of any variety, if we do that, then we have disqualified ourselves as bearers of the light. Don't do that, beloved. The world needs light, the light of the Holy One. The world needs light more than it ever needed light. So don't cave in to the temptations, and don't just fail the tests of the wilderness. This is all a test. This is all part of the culling mechanism. Are you going to be with us as we walk on this great movement to bring tikkun to the world, healing and restoration to the world and to the nations? Or are you going to fall along the way and quit and be like Hobab and go back to your house, your home, your family, and your status quo, your matrix of illusion? Well, see you next week, beloved, the Holy One willing. Shabbat Shalom.